The most viral story on X the last 48, 72 hours is Nick Shirley, who went to Minnesota, made this 42-minute video, and they went knocking on all these different businesses asking, hey, you're supposed to be a school for kids with 102 kids, 99 kids, 68 kids, 73 kids with all this money. And Vinny, Rob, you got a bunch of these videos that if we can play for these guys, they're going through showing this stuff. This thing gets viral, 111 million views on his Twitter. As of right now, the guy had 200,000 followers-ish right before he launched this video 3-4 days ago. He's got 760,000 followers. This 23-year-old kid is doing more investigative journalism about Minnesota's fraud that's taking place than ABC, CNN, CNBC, you got, NBC, any of these guys. He's going out there saying, I want to find out what's going on. And 42-minute video. Rob, do you have a couple of the clips to show what are some of the things that the world saw when it was going out there knocking on the doors? By the way, when I first saw one of the clips, when Vinny's like, yeah, they're called the Lauderdale Center. I said, what's this Lauderdale Center? Let me go see what it looks like. I watched the whole video. Then I said, I sent it to everybody I know. Just watch this thing on 2.0 speed and see what this kid did. Rob, if you have any of the clips, if you don't have any clips with you, maybe let's go check CNN real quick to see if CNN is talking about this at all. Let's go check ABC. Let's go check, CBS. See if any of these major outlets on their homepage, go to Fox one by one, Rob. Let's check to see if anybody is even talking about the most viral story, exposing Tim Walz, exposing Ilhan Omar, exposing how that one Democrat that voted against it, who Vinny's consistently talked about, how right afterwards she goes and all of a sudden is found killed. Can we zoom in a little bit on those videos to see if there's anything about this? Do you see any of it that's about it? Go a little bit lower. Do you see anything there, Rob? Anything there? Keep going. Is any of those stories about it, Rob? Rob, are you able to speak or no? Okay, if Rob is speaking, I can't hear him. But I'm going to go on.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I hear you now.
Yeah, I don't see a single video here that has anything to do with the Minnesota fraud. Not a single one.
That's ridiculous.
Go to CNN.com. Don't even go to the YouTube page. Just go to CNN.com. Let's go to CNN.com because I'm on CNN.com right now. You got the Netanyahu story. You got nearly 500 women accused LA of OBGYN of decades of abuse. British boxer Anthony Joshua hurt in a fatal car accident in Nigeria. Key takeaways from Trump-Zelensky meeting. Nobody wants peace. There's not a single story on the homepage about that. Now go to ABC. If you go to abc.com, let's see what ABC's got. On abc.com, nothing on abc.com news. This is ABC about what happened with Tim Walz and what they found out in Minnesota. If we go to cbs.com, now keep in mind, this is all the people that are supposed to be reporting this, right? This is their job. They went to school to be journalists. But nope, the most viral story, they are not interested in at all because it exposes Democrats, and no wonder people don't trust the mainstream media anymore. If you go to foxnews.com, let's check foxnews.com. If you go to foxnews.com, you will see Minnesota fraud on the second, Tim Walz right at the top. You'll see Minnesota fraud probes raises questions about Ilhan Omar's Somaliland position. You will see a couple stories there about it. Okay. So Vinny, I'll come to you first. You had a chance to watch the whole thing. I think, Adam, you've seen the whole thing. Tom, you've seen the whole thing. Vinny, where are you at with this? And meanwhile, Rob, if you can pull up a couple videos about it. Vinny, where are you at with this from the first time when we saw about it to now that's gone viral and everyone's talking about it?
Okay, so lumps and Shuman, but okay, so we'll just all together, Pat, I've been trying to piece together, why the mainstream media is not talking about it. And then I kept going back and forth with Tom, and I was like, okay, why out of all the people did Kamala Harris, did the DNC pick Tim Walz to run for vice president? I was like, very, very interesting. And then if you guys remember, by the way, nobody knew who Tim Walz was. And all of a sudden, this guy who now is in one of the biggest scandals in the history of the United States, all right, over $18 billion, They picked that guy. Okay, let's put that to the side. Ilhan Omar, with her husband, net worth going from almost nothing to all these billions of dollars, then calling everybody racist that they even question it. That was weird. Then you have Melissa Horton, Pat, the one Democrat who voted against giving these illegals in Minnesota healthcare. She gets assassinated at her house with her husband, and the killer says that Tim Walz also wanted him to kill Amy Klobuchar. It's so insane to me. And then on top of that, there's a realtor in Minnesota that said, and I said Rob the clip, but I'll just say it, 450 houses in one area in Minnesota were bought in cash, turned into fake care centers, and then used to bill the state like clockwork, okay? Neighbors see no patience. All they see is luxury cars. Some of these places taking ex-cons without warning the community. So think about that. And by the way, a little fun fact, by law, realtors aren't even allowed to tell buyers what's happening in that situation, okay? The state sends monthly checks with zero, I'm gonna say that again, zero inspections, and most of the homes have few or no clients, but the cash keeps coming in. And then the fraud, Pat, this, you guys have to understand, this isn't just a couple of Somalis that just came here illegally and they're doing $9 billion worth of fraud. This, to me, goes up the freaking ladder. There is no way, Ilhan Omar, Patrick, there's no way Mrs. Pro-Somalia, another video came out of her saying, I can't wait, one of these days I'm gonna move back and live in Somalia with my child, that person who was so pro-Somalia and anti-America doesn't have an idea. Or Tim Walz, who has been silent. All of them are silent, and they're trying to use that whole white supremacist racist. There's a clip of Tim Walz claiming that everybody is racist. There's another video, Pat, where he's sitting there, and obviously it's a setup, and he looks back, and the old Minnesota flag is there. He removes it and puts the new one that looks almost identical to the Somali flag, all right? And what else was I gonna say? There's a chart, Pat, that Rob has that I sent. The child and adult care centers in Minnesota maxing out donations to Somali candidates in Washington. Isn't that weird? What are child daycare centers donating to Democratic people in Washington? Isn't that weird? And Pat, I can't hear you guys right now, but I would like, yeah, look. Oh, isn't that weird? Sunshine Child Care Center. Isn't that a little weird? Isn't that weird? So what are they donating to? Pat, I think this
is what?
Lumps and Chubbit. Let me get out. I'm going to come right back in. Give me 1 second because I want to show you guys a video.
Okay, so Rob, can you do me a favor? This is, folks, if you're watching this, to me, I don't care about whether, I don't have ill intentions towards Somalis or not. I don't care where you're from, what skin color, what ethnicity, what religion. The only thing I care about is, do you come in? Do you make the place better? Do you make the place safer? Do you create jobs for others? Do you love America? Do you go based on our values and principles that the founding fathers created? If you do, fantastic. You love America, great. But I want you to see this chart, Rob. I sent this text to you. Can you hide it real quick? Can you hide it real quick? Because I want to ask the audience first. If I were to ask you right now, Somalis that go to Minnesota, after having lived in America for 10 years, what percentage of them do you think still take welfare? Let me ask the question one more time. Somalis, after having lived in America, Minnesota, for 10 years, what percentage of them take welfare still after 10 years? Rob, can you pull this up now, please? Watch this, folks. When you look at this chart, it shows, the gray shows Somali immigrant households in Minnesota after 10 years. Look how many of them are still taking welfare.
Does that say 81%? What does that say?
78% of those who have been here more than 10 years. So if some of the newer people that are here, okay, maybe a year, 6 months, 3 months, more than 10 years, 78%. And if you look at native households in Minnesota, look what that number is, 21%. If you go to cash, 25, 27%. Food stamps, 48% of Somalian immigrant households in Minnesota after 10 years are taking food stamps. 68% are taking Medicaid. Are these programs built for other immigrants to come and take what you're paying the taxpayers? Are you okay with that? Because that's what's happening with this. So a lot of American people are sitting there saying, wait a minute, what the hell is going on over here? What are we talking about over here? These numbers just don't add up. Remember, for a second, forget about being a Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian. Do you like these numbers? Do you like other people coming and taking advantage of the tax-paying money that you're putting in? 78% of them still relying on you to take care of them. Do you like that situation? This is why so many people are upset. Rob, do you have one or two videos for some of the people that haven't seen it on what's going on in Minnesota? And then Tom and Adam, I'm going to come to you guys next. Do you have a video of what happened in Minnesota, Rob, on what Nick Shirley was doing, the great job that he's doing?
Outside of the Leering Daycare Center.
We've already shown that. Do you have any other one outside
we
of
headed
that?
over to the
Do you have anyone outside of that? Because that one we've already shown. Okay.
Yes.
Adam, where are you at with this? I know you're, Minnesota. You got some stories and connections there. And by the way,
Of course.
I don't know if you guys saw what happened in the Mall of America with the fights and.
Do you have that video, Rob?
Watch this, folks.
That's the mall in America?
That's the Mall of America.
Mall,
Yeah,
the
right.
Mall of America.
Mall of Somalia.
Imagine you're going Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
That's what Minnesota looks like today. That's America, folks. This is not Somalia. This is America. Adam, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, Nick Shirley is the captain now. So I actually had the pleasure of hanging out with Nick Shirley at James O'Keefe's independent citizen journalist event at Mar-a-Lago 2 months ago. I don't know, Rob, if you have that picture, but there's a famous phrase, if you see something, say something. Well, we've been seeing what's going on in Somaliland, Minnesota, for over a decade now. And this story is personal to me because here's a picture of Nick Shirley, by the way. This story is personal to me. Why? My mom is from Minnesota. Every summer of my life, I would go to Minnesota. I'm born and raised in Miami. My mom's from Minnesota. Every summer, she would ship me off to go stay with my aunt and uncle and family and cousins in Minnesota. And I was the problem child from Miami. And there I am in Minnesota. And growing up in Miami, Cubans, Haitians, Venezuelans, Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, Jews, Christians, it's like a melting pot. Then you go to Minnesota and it's like the lily whitest fairy tale you've ever seen. Scandinavian America. And I remember being there in 2018. Remember there was a Super Bowl in 2018. Dumbest decision ever. In the freezing cold, they had a Super Bowl. And I remember talking to my friends, Humphreys, Pat. I'm like, who are all these people? I've never seen these people. They're like, yeah, they're Somalians. They came in through a church. The Democrats brought them in. And I was like, all right, well, what's their deal? How many people heard of Somalians before 10 years ago? It's not a thing in America. So Nick Shirley, not the FBI, not the CIA, not the government, not the media, not CNN, nothing. A 23-year-old independent journalist who actually won the award at James O'Keefe's event, right, for being the best independent citizen journalist, rolls up in Minnesota and just starts asking questions. I text Nick, this was Saturday night, I go, Nick, your video has 60 million views. PBD, you said it has how much now? 120 million views.
Yep.
So there's this whole conversation of, listen, Somalians built America. That's the people that what? What are we talking about? So here, let me give you one little anecdote, and then I'll drive the point home. Every summer, I'd go to Minnesota and stay with my family. They would let me in. They had a very beautiful house. I would stay with them. Imagine if I was staying with my family, they let me in, but low key, I'm stealing all their money and sending it back to the drug lords in Miami, cocaine cowboys, and they're funding illegal operations. That's what the Somalians have been doing. Forget about bias. They've been funding al-Shabaab terrorists in Somalia while being taken in as citizens of our country. This is a slap in the face. This is a Trojan horse. Something's going to get done.
Yeah, I agree. They're making progress. But Tom, you have a complete different angle on this. If you want to take over, go for it, Tom.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Of course I can, yes.
Okay. So we've talked about first of all,
great connection to Nick Shirley, Adam. And Nick Shirley, thank you for what you did. But watch me connect these dots. I'm saying, why are the networks not covering the story? Is this really just Republican or Democrat thing? Why? And then when Vinny showed that little receipt that he's got, and Vinny, that is a campaign donation receipt in the state of Washington that was dollars that came from Minnesota, right?
Yep.
Pat, what we are seeing in Minnesota is the biggest campaign finance scam in history. They are laundering money through public assistance programs into the Somali community. The Somali community sends it to Somali. Al-Shabaab gets some of it, and then some of it comes back to Tim Walz's campaign. They've got him by the throat. If he speaks about this, they're going to show that money came back offshore from the campaign to it. I am convinced of this. This is my opinion. This is my deduction. This is what I believe. So I believe that they have checkmated it. And now we're seeing dollars from Minnesota going to Somali candidates in Washington. And why don't the networks talk about it? Who collects all the campaign donations? Campaigns, remember when they say that if you give $1 billion in relief fund to middle class Pat, it runs right to the EBITDA line of Wall Street, right? Because people are going to take it and just buy whatever they want. So, you know, you put $1 trillion in the economy as Biden did, the money's going to end up on Wall Street and the profit lines of Amazon and every company of people buy things. Bingo. Well, guess what? All of the money that comes into campaign finance goes to the network TV. And the networks are being told, stay off this. Because I believe the networks are being told plain, pure, and simple, stay off this story. Because what it's going to do, I believe that all this public assistance money goes offshore, comes back to the campaigns. It's money laundering. And I believe it's the biggest campaign finance story in history. And now the networks are sitting there at gunpoint because they need that money every 2 years because the elections are hugely profitable for network television.
Here's a question, though, Tom. Here's a question. Who's going to throw who under the bus? Is Ilhan Omar behind closed doors saying, Tim, go ahead, I dare you to say something? Because you're complicit yourself. I dare you to say something. So if Tim knew about this, and Ilhan Omar knows that he knew about this, and there's paper trail in text messages and WhatsApp and Signal and videos and exchange and email, I mean, these guys are going to protect each other. It's not like one person's going to jump in and say, hey, you know, if a whistleblower were to come out right now and say some stuff, it would be a very, very interesting thing to see on what's going to happen here. By the way, the one lady that voted against a lot of the stuff who later on got killed, I want you to watch as Democrat. Rob, you have the clip that Vinny was talking about earlier. Watch her reaction of how concerned she is that she was the only Democrat that voted against it. 67-1. This is Melissa Hortman. Rob, can you play that clip real quick?
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hortman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants.
Weird.
It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
The bill was deeply unpopular with members of the DFL caucus. Members have repeatedly expressed frustration that the bill was part of a compromise, one that would ensure the necessary GOP votes to pass the rest of the state budget.
Vinny, how much longer after that was she killed?
A week. I want to say a week. It wasn't that long, Patrick. Her and her husband, and then that killer went to another place, shot 2 other people, killed one of them, and then in his manifesto said that Tim Walz hired him or wanted him to kill somebody else. Do you understand? And think about it. Look at how emotional she was, because think about it. Those people that she's like, hey guys, because Pat, she has a heart. She's like, that money, I'm sorry, should be going to other. She understands that these people don't have anything. They're coming from a third world country. But what's fair is fair to the people. And then Pat, it's not, when I say this goes all the way to Washington, I sent Rob this clip of a tweet that Kamala Harris posted. It was in September 10th, 2024. Kamala tweeted, I was raised a middle-class child And I'm the only person on the debate stage tonight who has a plan to lift up the middle class and the working people of America. And then, Rob, if you could pull this up, Minnesota staff fraud reporting replied. And Rob, can you pull that one up? And I'll read what they wrote, Pat. Look at the chart that they put up. They said, Ms. Harris, please listen to Minnesota state employees who work every day to deliver best services possible to our state and people who expect no less and pay our wages. Tim Walz has caused incredible harm to our state and agencies, retaliated against whistleblowers, against fraud. Rob, you have that chart. You put it up a couple seconds ago that had the 250 million on the top. Could you put that one up? And that tweet, she's posting about the middle class, and Pat, they posted that under the reply. Look at the whistleblower. The whistleblower is screaming, 500 and 922 million dollars. They've been saying it. They've been trying to blow the whistle. And Tim Walz, in my opinion, you're involved. He has to know. If you're shutting up whistleblowers, then you're involved. And one last thing, Pat, because I know you want to move on. Nick Shirley did this as well, if you don't mind me doing it. The Sweet Angel Childcare. And Rob, if you want to put up the Google link, the phone number to this place goes to, guess where, Adam? Tim Walz's office. Why is one of these daycares, if you call, here's the number, Pat. I'm going to call. I'm going to put on speakerphone. Let's see. Let's see where this number's going.
Get out of here.
The one on the top. The Sweet Angel. That's the one right there, Rob.
Thank you for contacting the office of Governor Tim Walz.
Get out of here.
Oh, Pat, isn't that weird?
Sweet Angel Children.
Why?
Is this?
Can you read the number for us to match it?
Pat, the number is 651 201 3400.
That's the exact. Zoom in a little bit on that number, Rob, for Sweet Angel Childcare.
Why?
That's
Hey,
the
Patrick,
same
why in
exact
God's
number.
name would it go to Tim Walz's office? Huh?
I just searched it at minnesota.gov. That's a match.
Wow.
So,
well,
And is that, do we have a number to the Leering Center where all the Somali kids were leering every single day?
I want to do this one thing before we move on to the next story, because we got a lot more stories to go through. Rob, can you show one of the clips, especially the lady that just shuts the door on Nick? If you can show that one clip, and then we'll move on if the audience hasn't seen this yet. Go ahead, Rob. Watch this, folks. You're going to get very upset.
Here in your child care?
Which child care name is a lot of
Minnesota Child Care right here. It's from the state of Minnesota's website. We're just wondering where the children are.
Where the children are?
Yeah, where are the children? It says
Covering
you
her
have 102
face.
children here, and you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And where are you? Which department? That is harassment.
Oh, we are from ourselves.
that's harassment.
Hello.
This
we'd
is
like to
harassment,
ask, where's
asking
the money
questions.
going?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look
This
at
is
that.
in America.
Shut us down. Where are the children at? No children inside of this daycare center. And look at this daycare center right here. No children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, over $2.6 million. We're
Tom, how much money
They're trying to make it about the kids. To avoid investigation.
Tom, how much
they make
money
it
are
about the
they saying
benefits.
that this is going to be? How many billions? Potentially? I've heard 9
9.
billion.
9.
We're up to 10, 9.2 I've seen,
Okay.
but it was half of 18, right? So that's what everybody's talking
I
about.
just want to say the people of Minnesota deserve so much better than this. You know, Pat, you always say elections have consequences. These are the consequences of voting in Tim Walz, of voting in Ilhan Omar,
Yeah, but-
of voting in Amy Klobuchar. Hold on, Vinny. How many small business owners out there have been rejected? You know, Valuetainment, Bet David Consulting, shout out to those guys doing great work. How many small business owners do we deal with that are looking for funding? They're looking for grants. They're looking for loans and have been rejected by the federal government, by state government, whatever it is. And they're just funneling money to these literal Somali pirates. And it's a slap in the face to every hardworking American.
really is.
This is where your tax funding is going.
You're
It's
making
BS.
you're making a very good point about the fact that, you know, how about the people of Minnesota that actually want to create jobs instead of these guys that are coming in here to want to take advantage of the system? But, you know, it got so viral that guess who had to respond to it?
Tim
a guy
Walz?
named Cash Patel.
Oh, wow.
Kash Patel, the director of FBI, tweeted this, and I responded to it. Rob, if you want to pull up my tweet, and let's read Kash Patel's tweet first, and then I will give my thoughts on why, a couple concerns I got. So this is Kash Patel's tweet. Rob, if you can zoom in a little bit, my eyes are, I got to do one of these things here. Zoom in. So the FBI is aware of the recent social media reports in Minnesota. However, even before the public conversation escalated online, the FBI had surged personal and investigative resources to Minnesota to dismantle large-scale fraud schemes, exploiting federal programs. Fraud that steals from taxpayers and robs vulnerable children will remain a top FBI priority in Minnesota and nationwide. To date, the FBI dismantled a $250 million scheme that stole federal food aid meant for vulnerable children during COVID. The investigation exposed sham vendors, shell companies, and large-scale money laundering. The case led to 78 indictments, 57 convictions. Defendants included, he's got all these difficult names to read. These criminals didn't just engage in historic fraud, but try to subvert justice as well. Abmijad, Mohammed Noor, and others were charged for attempting to bribe a juror for $120,000 in cash. He goes into it, right? Not once does he give credit to Nick Shirley. So here's my response. My response was the following. Respectfully, why not hold a major press conference on this issue like you did with the NBA gambling scandal? Why not bring in Nick Shirley, recognize him for his work in fraud in Minnesota? I'm not an insider, but I encourage you to be more aggressive and public about it. By the way, why not even include Nick Shirley's name in that tweet? Why not give the guy credit? By the way, don't you want more younger guys like that and gals that want to go to investigative journalism? There's a clip of Nick Shirley in the streets of Minnesota while he's going around. Guy is hitting him. A Somali guy is hitting him and hitting the camera. I don't know if you saw this clip or not, Rob. A guy's hitting him and hitting the camera guy. And this is not a UFC fighter. This is a guy that loves America, that wants to go out there and expose what's going on. So to me, you got press conferences that Kash has done. It's been 4 of them now. If you go search this, I think it's 4 of them that he's done. You guys can verify this. One of them was the NBA scandal. Another one was the Charlie Kirk assassination. Then they had a couple other ones that they did. One of them was with the president, but nothing on Minnesota. I would highly encourage. And when you did the NBA scandal, what did you give us? Nothing. It was just, we're investigating a gambling scandal in the NBA. Okay, great.
We expect more big names.
What's bigger, this or NBA scandal? Who gives, the NBA scandal is second-rate amateur stuff versus this is like PhD level fraud at the highest level that's a threat to the entire country. So my hope is that I know the president is very big on edifying and building people up. I wouldn't be surprised if the president built up Nick Shirley and gave him some recognition and brought him to the White House. But I would like to see the director of FBI be a little bit more aggressive, assertive about it. And for something this massive, I would expect a press conference today, tomorrow, latest by Wednesday. If we don't see it, I think they're just being casual about it. And the criticism that they're giving to the FBI, I think it's valid. If you take this long after the most viral story in America on news of what's going on in Minnesota, you don't say nothing, then guess what? You're being casual, and you deserve every criticism you're getting from some of the people out there that were for you originally that now are saying, I'm sorry, Kash, you're not coming through. Right. I think some of that is...
And Pat, it's not just Kash, because Kash has been in power for not even a year yet. Let's give a shout out to James Comey, former FBI director, Andy McCabe, former FBI director, Christopher Wray. Guys, what are you guys doing? You're running the FBI. A 23-year-old citizen journalist just showed everybody up.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference, Adam. And you have to know, here's the big difference. Kash came in like this.
Yep.
That I'm going to go after everybody. Well, if you're going to go like this, hey, the gorilla's here. The silverback is here. We're going to take over. Show up. Show up and go handle business in Minnesota. Get on a private jet that you've been flying and take that PJ of yours to Minnesota in front of a facility of us seeing people getting arrested and show America how assertive you are. He's capable of doing that. This is a guy that's not a guy that's afraid. He's not a guy that's scared of stuff like Kash is not a pansy. No. Kash is a tough guy, but this is a time to deliver. This was massive. Credit goes to Nick Shirley.
Right now, with everything that's happening, I think the spiritual battle that the nation that the world is going through right now, I think it's more obvious than I think it's ever been. And I think letting people know, I was watching Gladiator and they kept saying, hold the line. I watched another movie. I was watching Game of Thrones. Hold the line. When it comes to Christianity and your spirituality, I think having faith and not caring about anything. Dylan, I actually, Pat, and you remember this on the plane coming here, guys, on the flight here, the turbulence was so bad. I have a huge, my biggest fear of all is flying. Ask Pat, I'm sitting next to Pat. We're dropping, by the way, we're in Aspen. The mountains are like this. The altitude, it's horrible. And we're coming in for landing and we finally all nervous. And then Pat's like, ask Dylan, like, Dylan, were you worried? Were you worried? Were you scared about anything? And Dylan, how old is Dylan, Pat?
12.
Pat?
12. He's 12 years old.
Okay, lumps and Shulman. 12 years old goes, Dad, no, I'm not afraid. I have faith because I'm not scared about anything. Because if anything, God forbid, happens, I'm going to be with God and Jesus Christ in heaven. So again, wearing this shirt, guys, I can't tell you how many messages I get of people seeing the back of faith over fear. And people are like, hey, what does that mean? What does Hebrews mean? And then the conversation sparks. And I learned from Dylan at 12 years old, in that moment, what do you have to be afraid of? Nothing. You have nothing to be afraid of if you have faith. And yeah, we have the faith over fear hat. Boom, just like that. And the Valuetainment. Guys, I rock this all the time. And yeah, if you want, go to vtmerch.com and rock it.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.